Hi, and welcome back to another monthly spending overview video where I break down what I spent in the last month and how I'm thinking about the month ahead. So in this case, we're gonna look at September spending and we're gonna plan October. If you're new here, I'm Danielle. I make videos on my journey to financial independence and how I'm trying to reach that while also considering other goals that I have in life, like travel, like moving out, and things that come up in life. So if that stuff interests you, then hit that subscribe button. But yeah, let's get started with today's video. Before I go into the specific numbers, I did want to talk a little bit about kind of what tools we use to manage our money. So 3 simple tools: Google Calendar, which I'll actually be going a little bit into more detail today since I haven't mapped out all the events that are happening in October. But this is helpful for us to see at a high level, like what events are happening in October, and how can we be realistic about our budget with all the events that are coming up. The second one is Monarch Money. This is one that we started using in the summer, and honestly, we love it. It really helps us see both the net worth as well as just how our spending this month is looking based on last month. Did we spend more? Did we spend less? And it helps us not have to manually track every expense. The last one is a money tracker that I created that, again, still needs a lot of work to make it fit what we're using it for now, but I think it is a helpful one for individuals who have never tracked their spending to like manually do it for at least 3 months. So those are the 3 tools that we use. Not a tool, but something that we do and that I haven't done yet with my partner this month is having a money date. Whether you manage your money with a partner or not, you should sit down once a month at the beginning or the end of the month to kind of think about what happened the month before, what things do we want to improve on, kind of having that conversation with yourself or your partner if you manage your money with somebody else. Not a tool, but it is something that I think should be implemented into your management of money. Let me jump in now to Monarch Money so we can take a look at the numbers. I'm in here sharing my screen. What you see right now is Monarch Money, and we're looking at our September budget. So, big news in September is that we are officially DINKs again. Dual income, no kids. Finally, my husband has been on a journey to figure out what he wants to do career-wise for a year and a half. And this month we finally saw our first paycheck from his end of things based on this career change that he had. So we're really excited about that. We are DINKs, we are DINKs, we are DINKs. It feels nice to both be making money again. And as you can see, it actually helps us a lot to be both earning money. So that is the first thing. Let's talk about that. Income. Income was expected $4,000 from my end. And again, based on how things happened in Monarch last month, I decided to just make it the income after my 401k investments. So 4110 is what I made after investing about 40-something% into my 401k, because one of the goals I have this year is to max out my 401k. So the 41 was expected based on my paycheck. Though Monarch kind of tells you what it was, right? So you can see that in July it was 72. That was because I wasn't investing in my 401k just yet. I wanted to see what those paychecks were like. Last month it was just me, and this month it's at 6,000 because Ari got paid. We are DINKs again. So that's the big news. That is like the big thing we're celebrating in September. And it's huge. It's huge for us. So we're really happy about that. But let's look at the expenses. I'm only going to talk about the big negative red numbers, right? And so gifts and donations, like 48 over, it's still over, but I think it's nothing drastic. I'm not going to go into too much of that here, but let's take a look at food and dining, travel and lifestyle, and shopping, and then wellness. Wellness is a big one. So, food and dining. I had mentioned in my last video that we have not been under 1,000 since January of 2024. 1,000 in food category, both eating out and groceries. And that trend has continued again, or the trend of spending over 1,000 has continued again in September. But not so drastically, right? We're at 1,123. So it's not like we went over too much, but we still did go over. And something that I want to do for a later video, and let me know if this would be of interest to you, but I want to explore like what two people are spending when it comes to food. Like, why are we spending over 1,000 a month on food? Somebody left a comment that, you know, they live in London and they don't spend 1,000 a month on food for two people. So like, why is it so high for me here in the suburbs? I don't know, but it got me curious about like, yeah, why is it so high? I have my ideas of why, but definitely want to do a little deep dive on food. I think the biggest thing here that I did not account for when I thought about the groceries was book club. I hosted 12 women for a book club in September, and I made everything from scratch. I cooked, prepared the dessert, and honestly, I think sometimes cooking and making recipes can be more costly than just having ordered out. But in this case, like, I was accommodating different dietary needs, like somebody's gluten-free, somebody's vegan. Like, I am not gonna go to all these different places to order out. And because it's the book, we like to make book club kind of tied to the theme of the book. And so it was like Southern eating. I was like, let me just make it simple for myself and make all the food. And so that's something I didn't account for when we estimated $500 of groceries. I was gonna have to buy groceries for this event that I was hosting. Another thing to really think about when it comes to groceries is I actually have a supermarket run here that was diapers for my niece. We were watching my niece and nephew this month, and my niece ran out of diapers. So I went out to the supermarket to get her diapers. It's not a grocery line item, but it falls under grocery because we bought it at a supermarket. So there are different things here that kind of are a little of the gray areas. But overall, I think considering the book club, considering my trip to Chicago, which I'll talk about in travel and lifestyle, and considering, eating out or having like pizza movie night with my niece and nephew when we were watching them, like, we went over, but not drastically over. So I'm okay with that, but I do want to do a deeper dive in food and dining. Travel and lifestyle. So, a lot of red. My trips and vacation. So this is actually under, but I did take a trip to Chicago for work. Most of what I spent there, like the Ubers and food, was covered through my employer. Right. So the only thing kind of that I covered was when I went out to eat with my grandmother the day before I went to the conference or the team summit. So the travel, the trips and vacations wasn't too high. Entertainment though, it is time for a story. All summer I had been eyeing a festival happening in New York, All Things Go. I had been eyeing it because Chappell Roan was going to perform. I was like, okay, I want to get tickets to that festival. Like, I want to see her. I didn't see her at Lollapalooza. Like, I want to make sure that I see her at All Things Go. This is my last chance until whenever she does another tour. My friend and I, were set on getting tickets, resale tickets. And we bought tickets Thursday before the Saturday show at $287 a ticket, because we wanted to see Renee Rapp, Chappell Roan. And then that Friday morning, she canceled the show, which, I have nothing to say on her cancellation. Like, mental health is always gonna be a priority. But As somebody who bought the ticket the day before, I was like, oh my God, we should have waited one more day, and we would have bought tickets for like $50. So that's just a funny little story there. We had an amazing time. Even though, we didn't see Chapel, who was somebody that we really wanted to see. Muna was great, and I had been listening to their music before, but now after that show, I'm like, I love them. And Renee Rapp, amazing. So we actually had a really good time at the festival. No regrets, maybe just should have waited till the day of to buy the tickets, since we were already it was already a last minute purchase. It wasn't a last minute decision because we've been eyeing those tickets since the summer, but I think we could have waited a couple more days so that we knew for a fact things were finalized. And then pets, we had to get Charlotte dry food, and I think I'll just have to update this to 50 because usually, there's a month that I don't need to get dry food because the dry food is huge and it'll last for 2 months. So that's just the dry food that she needs. She lives with my parents, so they get her the wet food that goes along with that. Shopping, what is here? Household items, we went way over with household items, but this includes things like wipes, toothpaste, just things that we need to make sure we are clean, and clothing. So Ari actually went to the thrift store to buy clothes for his new job and returned the items that he had at Target. So that is what the clothing category is. But I think let's spend some time talking about wellness. I'm excited for this to go down, mainly the medical piece, because the personal care, I got a haircut, Ari got a haircut. That's not going to go down. I get a haircut every 6 months. It's not that big of a deal. But medical, with Ari's new job, we actually decided to switch insurances. We have a pretty good plan. And so all of Ari's copays for the doctors he's been going to, therapy, psychiatrist, now he's in PT, those went from a $100 to $150 copay to a $15 copay, $20 copay. So our copays dropped because of the new insurance plan that we're on through Ari's job. So I'm really excited that medical will continue to decrease, because if you see here, like August, $940. So I see a downward trend for medical, and it makes me really, really happy. But that was health and wellness. I think other -31, it's another one of Ari's certifications for his new job, so we just put it at miscellaneous. And our total expenses were actually $39.98, almost $4,000 this month. Again, we really want to bring that down, but we have to work towards it. We can't just say, hey, we're spending $4,000. Let me say now we're going to spend $2,000. We need to slowly make our way to spending less. I'm trying to think of what we spent last month. Last month we spent $45. So in September, we actually spent less than we did in August. And that's what we want to continue to see. And with our income at $64.53 and our expenses, we are actually at the place where we are spending less than we are making while also still investing, right? So though it's not coming up as a contribution, I have added to my 401k in September, and that is something that will continue to be added. As you can see, it decreases my income, but it's because it's being directed to the 401k. So I feel good about September. There are areas that I want to dig into a little more, but we are headed in the right direction, especially now that we are DINKs, dual income, no kids. We are finally both making and earning money. It feels good. Now I want to transition to our Google Calendar and this method of how we are managing our money. As you can see, it's October 1st as I'm recording this, and my money date with Ari isn't until Sunday the 6th. So All these things we'll discuss then, but we haven't yet. So nothing is on this calendar except for the reoccurring in calendar events. So we're gonna add to the calendar. On Friday, it's my mom's birthday. So what does that mean? Well, I should start with today. Mommy's birthday, which means we're probably gonna eating out / gift. The sisters and I have come up with a gift that we want to give my mom that is going to be pretty costly. So I want to consider that in our planning. Let me just edit that so I can have $3 signs. Okay. Today is my little sister's birthday. Eating out expense. I personally am not going to eat anything at this restaurant because it's very meat heavy and I am a pescatarian. And so I'm going to eat before we go. But Ari will eat there and we'll, have to contribute to that bill. So that's kind of the birthdays. Let's see, any other birthdays this month? I do not think so. And this weekend, no planned events. We are next week going to California. I briefly talked about this in my last video. California wedding trip. What do we need to account for? We need to think about, do we want to rent a car? Gift money. Hotel money. Okay. Some things that we've already done for this California wedding trip. We've already purchased our flights that came out in January. We purchased those in January. We are splitting our hotel room with a friend so that we can split the costs. So we've already kind of planned out how we're going to minimize our spending for this trip. But some things that I wanted to consider is like the renting of a car. Ari is in the wedding party, so there'll be some times where I will have downtime. Do I want to explore on my own? So that's something that we need to chat about on Sunday. Let's see. On the 27th, we have birthday, something to think about. What else? Do we have any? Oh, on the 19th, I have dinner plans. I already know that. And then I think that's it for what events might cost money this month. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that's going to really mean that we need to think about costs. So that's Google Calendar. That's how we map out what we're doing for the month ahead. Now I'm going to switch over to the spreadsheet I created. I have already added a few of the numbers, but it helps me kind of understand what are we starting with, right? So first of all, the money diary. Something that Ari and I will talk through during our money date are some questions that we have around money, how we're doing, how we're feeling about it. That's like the feelings aspect of it. And then we'll talk about, okay, what do we have on hand? What do we need to account for spending, right? So money on hand, I already added these numbers today based on having paid off our credit cards, because again, it's really important. If you're going to use credit cards for points, you pay them off in full every month. So I just did those payments this morning. And after accounting for paying the credit cards, we have about $5,000 in our checking account. We have a sinking fund for our California trip. So somebody in my last video asked, like, how come your California trip hasn't been added as a short-term goal? Because it's something that we knew about at the beginning of the year and we're already saving towards. So we have about $1,300 for that trip. We need to take a closer look at whether we're going to rent a car. If we do, is that going to mean that we need to save a little more or add a little more on this sinking fund? And then our moving out fund. So this is all the cash we have on hand that is excluding our emergency fund and other sinking funds we don't plan on using within the next 2 months. So the moving out is something that if we are thinking about renting, because I know we keep going back and forth about renting or buying or what makes sense for us, I promise a moving out series is coming out soon, so you can think about all the thoughts that we've put into this. But if we decide to rent, we need to increase the amount that we have allotted for moving out rental expenses. And so you'll see that in big upcoming expenses. So we have the California wedding, the 13 that we take from the sinking fund. Instead of taking that Santa Fe trip that I talked about in my last video, I am actually going to go to Toronto. I have family there and I want to visit them. And also we are going to drive. So it reduces some costs in some areas, but we're still going to spend money. So start thinking about how much am I going to want to spend. And then moving out, our goal is to have about $10,000 to move out if we're renting. So we're going to need to save $3,400. That's got to come from somewhere. So these are things that we're going to talk through how we're going to hit these goals in October and November. So I'm actually going to scratch this off because we already have that. But those are the two things that are coming up that'll cost money. And that's kind of how we are thinking through using this spreadsheet that I created that, if you have never tracked your spending, it would be good for you to start doing that manually first. That's where we are. I'm really excited about our future. It finally feels good to both be, I'm a broken record, but yes, both be earning money, both be contributing to these larger financial goals that we have. And I'm trekking along with the maxing out 401k goal. So things are looking good and we're gonna finish off this year very strong. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the momentum. This is kind of just how we think about our money, how we're thinking about the different things that we want to achieve. And though I don't necessarily think you need to manually track every single expense all the time, Monarch and using these systems help us at least feel like we know where the money is going and how we can improve. So there's still a lot of improvement to be made. Yeah, that's how we think about the month ahead, how we think about our spending of the last month. It's really important to think about your past performance and how and where there are areas for you to improve on. I know we have a lot of ways to improve. I know. But the only reason I know is because we do this, right? If we weren't sitting down and looking at these numbers and kind of thinking about them, we would just be okay being. And I think at some point, we will get to that place where we don't need to go through each expense to see where we went wrong because we have gotten to the point where we are maxing out what we want to max out or we're hitting the goals that we want to hit and then everything else is for us to spend on. But right now we're not there. We just started earning money again, right? I had been unemployed and laid off for 11 months. My partner, Ari, was looking for his next career shift for a year and a half. And so we're finally at this place where we're making money. It's important for us to think about what's happening with it. So I hope this was helpful and I will see you all next week. Bye.